This is Blythe Baines, and you're listening to Inspirado Projecto.
Ladies and gentlemen, we have yet another exciting episode of Inspirado Projecto. This is part 2 with Wiley Herman, one of the co-creators of the whole Jejune Institute world, which is extended to Christor Inc. I mean, lots of stuff. Now, there's an evil entity called Chris Torch. Grandview Boulevard, this movie is featured in there. The Tolls, these are all part of the universe, the same universe. The Latitude Society, the Varelse Bridge Society, all of these various factions and universi exist concurrently, in tandem, in parallel, and multidimensionally. So it's quite a rabbit hole. There is the philosophy of this is nonchalance. You can find a Discord page of this. If you decided to start your journey, go to christorinc.com. I will, of course, put that in the description, which, by the way, I want to say a very talented friend of mine, Naaman Sheriel, a really cool dude, a very talented musician, recently died of a heart attack. This guy was very young, early 30s, this guy. I interviewed him on Inspirado Projecto in K-Chung Studios. I podcasted him. Naaman Sheriel. They have a GoFundMe here. His sister set up, the family set up the GoFundMe page. It's called To Be Able to Say Our Last Goodbyes. I'm gonna put a link in the description in case you want to donate to this talented artist, if you happen to know him. You know, there are those people that you cross paths with in your life, and you might not even, quote, know them, unquote, that long. You know, it's funny. It's not really based on the amount of years that you've known someone that really builds a bond. It's really that it's the bond that you feel just at any time. And I think if you can build a bond really fast without it having to take years to make that happen, I think that's extraordinary. Those people that you meet in your life and you're like, you know what, this is a person I definitely knew in a past life. This is someone who the conversation just flows easy, effortlessly. The philosophies are just bouncing off the walls here like pinball machines. That's Naaman Sheriel. This guy, his music, he wanted to be a video game soundtrack guy and movies and all that kind of stuff. And man, his music, you listen to it and just conjured up images. So I'm going to wade through my archives, find some Naaman Sheriel music. I'm going to get a hold of the family, see if I can put his music on here, if they'd feel okay with that. And I will share it with you. And then you can let me know what kind of images it conjures up in your brain. Also, stay tuned, okay? In addition to Wiley Herman, which, by the way, to be honest with you, I don't know if we're actually talking with the real Wiley Herman, or if one of the tulpas or clones or parallel versions of him. There are quite a few. Check out Grandview Boulevard. That is for free on Christor Inc. ChrystorEinc.com, Christor Inc. Go on there, you can check out Grandview Boulevard, and you can see this movie that we're talking about here in this conversation. It all fits together. There are secret. You got to get passwords on certain places. Make sure you click everywhere on the page. There are hidden buttons. For those who love Easter eggs, this is for you. Now, I gotta say, there are some extra surprises on this podcast. At the end of all this, I'll wrap it up. I'll say thank you to everybody. But I'm going to answer. There's a question that's coming up next that will be answered. All right? will be answered after the interview with Wiley. All right. By the way, if you want to contribute to the episodes of Inspirado Projecto, you can always call the hotline 561-203-9179. Leave a message on the voicemail. It also acts as the Wise Finger Lab hotline. So if you have messages for them too, you can leave some messages there too. By the way, if you want to check out any of that, go to wisefingerlab.threadless.com. You'll see some very interesting creations that I have put up there along with my cohort, my comrade, my confederate, Samantha Light, phenomenal designer. Anyway, without further ado, and definitely without further adon'ts, here's Inspirado Projecto.
Inspirado, how has COVID-19 changed music, especially, performance-wise, the venues, the DJs, the performers, the bands? I know things have shut down a lot of places, but how do you think COVID-19 is changing music? And, that could go down to even talking about composition or even performance, working with other musicians. Things are virtual now. How do you make music on Zoom?
My name is Atlas the Dragon with the Varelse Bridge Society. I am the ambassador out of Houston, Texas, and let me tell you something now. I really will be found. This clarity will not win today. Crystal is going to succeed. Zork will be done with, and we will no longer have to deal with the false nonchalance that is the whole world. The Varelse Bridge Society will win, do you hear me? Take my word for it. We are coming.
Here's your fun fact. The average dog can run about 19 miles per hour. Greyhounds are the fastest dogs on Earth and can run at speeds of 45 miles per hour. Stay tuned to Inspirado Projecto for more fun facts.
Wow, which must have been so much fun. Did you help out with the Jejun Institute? Were you part of the...
No, I had nothing to do with the original Jejun. I was incredibly, weirdly moved by the film though when I first saw it. Spencer and I had done some acting, the year before, and I didn't know he was a filmmaker. And so we kind of bonded in this production of Midsummer Night's Dream we did together in Woodside, and he just said, hey, I got this film. And I'm like, oh, yeah, sure. Let me watch it. And I was just completely blown away by this film. And so I was a fanboy before he even approached me to be involved with the Esquire. Let's just call it Grandview Boulevard because that's what it's called now. But it was just another thing where it's I kind of felt, I don't know why I felt really, really profoundly connected to the Institute, even though I had nothing to do with it. And I think eventually there was enough invitations from the universe into the nonchalance world that it felt justified. But at the time I remember thinking why do I feel so profoundly connected to this experience in this film that I had nothing to do with? And then years and years later, it's oh yeah, that was just a setup for the punchline. It's you were supposed to be part of this universe and now you are.
Oh my God, how brilliant. Now, how many writers were in Bright Axiom? Were there 4 of you?
Yeah, there's 4 of us. Basically, it's technically it's a documentary, which shouldn't really have writers, but we called it a docu-fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
There was a lot of mythology around the Latitude Society that was basically incomplete. So this was supposed to be this multi-year, decade-long project with multiple chapters that participants could take part in over many, many years. And the whole thing, kind of crashed and burned after a couple of years. But there was still this rich mythology that was dying to be told and finished and completed. So one of my jobs as a producer and writer was to come in and help script out the mythology based on what had been started, even though there
Wow.
was no real finale ever written, but there was such a rich beginning that it felt like it deserved a nice wrap up thread. So I had a big part in writing the narrative to complete the mythology.
Oh, that's fantastic. Now, were you uh, so you helped sort of sculpt. You had the pieces of what was already shot, and then
Mhm.
you sculpted the story as to how it would kind of unfold in the editing process.
Yeah, I mean, I just gave Spencer and I worked together for like a year. I was just giving him editing suggestions, like maybe this piece should go here, maybe this voiceover would work better here. A big part of what I really wanted to accomplish was to get the narrative focused a little more on the participants.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I think we succeeded in a lot of ways. And there's still part of me that wishes there was more about the participants, but I think a lot of times we just didn't have enough footage, because you can only share so much when you're on camera. I was really, really happy with the way the film turned out, by the way.
Oh, it's brilliant. It's so
But
cool.
thank you. I really appreciate it. So yeah, my main goal was to like really delve into the participants' lives and how it affected them and what they did within the society. But yeah, I couldn't be happier with how it all turned out.
So Spencer told me that oh gosh, I want to say he said the name Mendocino.
Mhm.
I thought it was an
Yeah,
M. There was
Mendocino, yeah.
Yeah, and that's where the little village
Yeah, it's
was.
still there. It's Jeff Hull's
Oh my,
property. That's his backyard in his house.
oh my
Yeah,
gosh. Oh my dude, that place is screaming. I mean, that's a beautiful location
it's
to continue to shoot
it's
stuff at.
crazy. So yeah, I actually went up there I conducted the interview with Jeff that's featured in the film, and I got to stay in one of those little bungalows, little hobbit houses that he had built out.
Dude.
So it's crazy because it's just like screaming to be used, because it's just this like abandoned,
It
perfect,
really
beautiful
is.
hobbit town in his backyard
Oh
that
God.
was made for the participants of the Latitude Society, and it's still there, and it's still gorgeous, and it's still comfortable.
Oh
So I don't know if he's
wow.
gonna ever use it. Maybe corporate retreats. I don't know, something.
Oh my
Yeah.
gosh. You could shoot a whole, like I've been watching The Norseman
Mm,
on Netflix
mm,
lately, and it was cool. I have some Norwegian in my blood, and I've haven't seen any Norwegian movies or anything. So this was a cool thing to watch this TV show, and so it takes place with these, way back when with the Vikings and
mm.
everything, and just from what I remember from,
Yep. We can pause.
uh, whoa, sorry about that. Just what I remember from the Latitude
Mm,
Society, and the little villages
mm.
there. I mean, you could totally shoot like a little fantasy
Yeah,
series out
totally.
there.
Of course, I'm thinking more like Midsummer, Midsommar, however you say it. Like
Oh,
it's perfect for like
oh
a
yeah.
cult-based,
Oh
horror
my
film
God.
too.
Yes.
But
Oh yes,
yeah,
absolutely.
that's just
Oh
where my
yeah.
mind goes. But yeah, it's a set waiting to happen for sure.
Oh my God. Wow. So it's just so. How many times have you worked with Jeff?
Just the once, really, just the Latitude Society. I actually took part in the Latitude Society. I participated in the what they called the books, which were like the kind of solo adventures through these physical spaces throughout San Francisco, with like underground mazes and secret passages. They're really,
Oh,
really cool.
oh my gosh, that's
So I
awesome.
participated in the books, but I never got involved with the actual society element, which was outside of the books. So as far as working with Jeff, I participated in his genius creation while it lasted, and then I conducted the interview with him, and that's pretty much it. What we did afterwards, which was pretty cool, is that Jeff actually donated tons and tons of Latitude memorabilia to be given to the members of the Varelse Bridge Society, which comes out of the Chris Store Inc. Website. So they have all kinds of amazing memorabilia from the Latitude, like items and special stones, and it's really cool. Coins. So yeah, he was really nice, and he was nice enough to not only donate the items, but to pay for shipping all around the world to get these items out. We sent about, I don't know, 75, 80 packages around the world,
Oh my
full of
gosh.
swag for these participants. And
Oh my
yeah, and these are
gosh.
just fans of the film. They weren't actually involved in the Latitude Society. They're just, they appreciate the nonchalance universe that Jeff created, and it's just a way to let them be an extra part of it.
Wow, that is
Yeah, it's
amazing.
pretty cool.
So how many people do you think that Jeff worked with to try to set up, like you're saying, these underground tunnels and
Oh, it
all
was
that stuff?
dozens and dozens of architects and engineers and experienced designers, and I mean, you name it. It was it's a multi-million-dollar process to get the whole thing. And this thing was like Disney quality, I can say from experience. Like you walked into these rooms and it was just next level skill and craftsmanship. It was beautiful.
Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
man. So how many of those little hobbit houses are out there?
I want to say like 8. I could be wrong. I was only there for the weekend for the interview. But yeah, there's about 8 little huts out there.
Oh my God, that's
Yeah,
incredible.
and they're amazing. They have like living roofs with all the moss coming down. Of course, now they haven't been really maintained like they should be, so they're starting to kind of implode on themselves. But they still have these beautiful living moss roofs.
Wow, man, that's incredible. So, how many screenplays would you say that you have that are like your dream?
Oof.
Your dream screenplays that you'd like to, if you had the budgets.
That's a good question. I mean, I've only written probably like 4 or 5 features, and 2 of them have been produced, and the other 3, like 2 are probably garbage. So I'm probably down to 1 that I'd actually really like to get produced, and that's a horror film.
Oh, that's great. Did you learn screenwriting, or did you teach
No, I'm
yourself?
pretty much self-taught. I think just from doing theater for so many years, you kind of get into the rhythm and the flow of dialogue, and I think it's a good way to self-teach writing. Once you do it enough, it kind of transitions nicely.
Now, do you use the card catalog method, the
corkboard
note cards?
I have in the past.
Oh, yeah.
You mean like the different colored note, like index cards on the board?
Right.
I've done that before in the past. I've tried different methods. My current method is just to kind of just sit down and just crank it out. Just crank out a really solid like 9-page outline, and then kind of fill in the blanks between each beat of the outline, which is a kind of a new way that I'm trying it, and it seems to work pretty well. But yeah, I always like to play around.
It's cool. So you got the skeleton, and then you just fill up everything else.
Yeah, exactly. It's my current experiment in writing.
Now, have you written plays too?
Yeah.
You said you wrote that one play that's sort of like a Twilight Zone type.
Oh yeah, the people locked in the bunker. Yeah, that's the only full length that I've ever written. I've written a bunch of shorts that have been performed at different festivals in San Francisco. But I'm mostly a short form guy. I came from improv and sketch comedy, so like that's kind of my rhythm in general. So it takes a lot for me to actually sit down and expand it into a full length anything, whether it's a screenplay or a stage play. But yeah, like you said, improv is a really good place to start too with a yes and. If you're yes anding yourself as you're writing, it just kind of flows.
Yeah, it takes some for some folks it takes discipline to not allow the judge or the critic to be closely watching them every step of the way. There's kind of got to be that vibe of like going, all right, you know what? We don't know where we're going right now, but we're going there.
Yeah.
We just got to kind of let it all just flow.
I agree, man. I totally agree.
Now, are you into music? Do you do music?
Not really, man. I was listening to the interview with Spencer, and he's like, I'm not really into music. And I was like, oh, thank God, because I'm usually not. Yeah, I like music. I appreciate music, but I'm more like a radio guy, like whatever's on the radio that I can just tune into. So I appreciate music, and I have a pretty good knowledge of music, but I don't like have a specific genre or thing that I'm totally into.
Wow, it's so interesting how everyone's got their own process of how they create stuff. I mean, I've talked to people, like I got a buddy who he'll be listening to a song and he'll go, oh, and all of a sudden an idea for a scene will pop up, and then he ends up writing each scene around a different song.
I love that. See, I wish that my brain worked like that. For me, that's like synesthesia. It's just like so foreign to me to connect, dialogue and scenes to music. Like I wish I could do it, because when I see it, I'm like, of course that fits perfectly, but my brain isn't wired to actually make those connections myself. But I totally appreciate that.
That's something that just fascinates me. Doing soundtracks for movies too. The idea of trying to get that mood in there and just gluing it in there at just the right time.
Yeah. Well, it's funny because like when I write, I'm pretty ADD, and it sounds cliche, but I really do feel like it's a real thing, and I have been definitely have that. So when I write, the thought of even attempting to think of music as I'm writing is like ADD nightmare, because it's like suddenly there's this foreign entity calling for my attention that's taking me away from the writing. So for me, it's like a nightmare to think about lining up music with dialogue or rhythms. It's just crazy making for me.
Right. So you'd view it as something that would kind of take your attention away from what you're working on.
Completely, utterly. It's like kind of cringy to even think about trying to listen to music while I write, because it's like, no, stop distracting me from the writing. It's not helping, it's hindering.
What do you think would be the most ideal, satisfying situation for writing for you? What would be what elements do you think would need to be in place in order for you to really just dive
Oh
into it?
man. Oh, honestly, like as cliched as it is, like if I could actually get that freaking cabin in the woods for like
Yeah.
months with limited resources and just food and basics taken care of and just seclusion and beauty and nature and silence, like that would be so freaking ideal. But I got 2 kids, so that's that's not happening anytime soon. Yeah.
Right, right. It's cool how you've used your home movies and how they fit into uh, Grandview Boulevard.
Oh,
It's
thanks, man.
it's it's interesting how you do the version where she goes down the slide, the version where she doesn't go down the slide, and then there's a part on the website where we see one version of you running down the alley,
Hmm.
and you're like, oh, it was right around here. I swear it was right around here. And then it goes to there's another version of you where you're like, oh yeah, here's here's where
Yeah,
he
the
was.
parallel Wileys running down the same alley. Yeah,
Yes,
that
yes.
was really fun. Yeah, I was only in town for like literally 48 hours to pick up some stuff to bring back up to Washington where I'm staying now. And I was like, while I'm here, we're going to film as much shit as we can. So we
Oh,
got a little crew together and ran around downtown and got as much footage as we could within, a couple hours. And it was really fun.
such a brilliant idea.
Thanks, man.
I feel like that's. Are you a fan of Hodorowski?
Oh yeah, yeah. I
Um,
would I would have loved to have seen his Dune, but that's never going to happen.
oh, me
But that
too, man.
documentary
Me
was brilliant.
too. Oh my God. And I was just going to bring that up, that
Mm-hmm.
documentary where he talks about his
Mm-hmm.
warriors. He's like, I need to find my warriors. And ever since I saw that documentary where he talks about that, he's like, oh yes, Mobius, he's one of my warriors. This guy, he's one of my
Mm-hmm.
warriors. I talked to that or I talked to this guy for, whatever, for this reason. He's not one of my warriors.
Mm-hmm.
So he was on the hunt for those people who are like, okay, we got to go now. And just having that sort of like improv spirit of like, okay, let's just do this thing. Let's go for
Yeah.
it. And that's what I kind of imagine as you were out there for those 20, for those 48 hours, just kind of getting together the warriors and going, okay, well, let's hurry up. Let's do some shooting
Yeah,
here. Who's up
it's
for
exactly, and that's how a lot of stuff from Grandview Boulevard was too. Like there's the scene where the doctor gets kidnapped basically by the parading cult members on the street, and like we were filming that in downtown San Francisco. This is years ago, and like literally the last take, the police pull up as we're getting our last take, and we all just kind of scattered to the wind, and it was just like this
it?
perfect, beautiful thing of like we just got the last take, we just got the shot we
Oh my,
needed as the cops are pulling up. Because we had no permits. It
whoa,
was totally
man.
guerrilla. We had like 20 people on the street dressed in all white,
Oh my,
making noise and kidnapping people on the street.
oh my
And it was just
God.
perfect. So it's like, yeah, that sense of guerrilla filmmaking and just the energy that comes from that is really, really good for
Oh,
fuel.
how thrilling.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. That would be a dream, is like having a class that teaches, I'm sure there's tons of them out there, but that teaches guerrilla filmmaking, how to get away with it.
Oh, I'm sure there's billions of, actually, I know for a fact there are billions of YouTube tutorials of varying quality. But yeah, it's fun, man. When it works, it works. When it doesn't work, it's kind of sad and terrifying.
Well, and I've been thinking lately too, especially with the idea of green screen technology and that technology is getting better and better. And then something else has been popping up in my head lately is the idea of miniatures.
Mhm.
Rather than having to rent some huge set and to build this huge set, what if you just had the little village,
Mhm.
of just miniatures, and you shoot that close?
Mm.
And then you use green screen,
Yeah.
where you got an entire town
Yeah.
basically in someone's basement. Like I get those visions of like those really cool
Mhm.
train tracks that people build, and they build a whole,
Mhm.
kind of like in Beetlejuice,
Yeah.
just a whole town.
Yeah. I mean, that's a whole different
I,
skill
I'd
set,
love,
man. To make that look good, it's a different skill set. But yeah, if you could pull it off, man, go for it.
man, yeah, because could you imagine, like, especially if you're just low on a budget and you're just into this like, multimedia experience,
Mm.
you can go in so many directions with
Yeah.
that.
Well, you've seen the new, I feel like an idiot for not knowing the name of it, but like The Mandalorian, the effects they're using for their sets, the digital projection sets, where they're projecting the backgrounds live in the moment. There's no green screen. They're actually projecting
I heard
these
about
perfect
that.
3D panoramic sets live in the room. And then as the camera moves, the background moves with it. And it's just
How
seamless.
crazy.
It's seamless and beautiful, and it's just like that's the future. If they can make, and they will make it affordable someday. So someday you will be able to create a curved screen in your home that projects a perfect background with perfect lighting.
Oh my
And the background
gosh.
itself creates the lighting and the reflections. So it's just like it's unbelievable technology.
How
But that's the
brilliant that it's a
future. I
projected.
mean, without a doubt, that's the future of filmmaking right there.
Yeah, it's funny how like the pandemic has forced people to be a lot more creative in how they're going to either whether it's rationing food or toilet paper or rationing their money or how to keep their wits about them and not go crazy during this time, how to stay creative, how to sort of become the media,
Mm-hmm.
um, and finding ways to make it work in their favor. It's really interesting to see how the creativity has been expanded.
Yeah, man, and I'll be curious to see once the pandemic is over and we have a vaccine and everyone gets back to something resembling normal, like how many things that we've learned now will actually be carried over into regular life,
Yes.
or if it's all just going to disappear and go back to like the normal standard giant tentpole films and then very slim independent films as far as, budget and distribution. We'll see. I'm hoping that there'll be a resurgence of mid budget, films because those are gone now. There's no mid budget. It's either like zero budget lucky indie filmmakers or Marvel Avengers film. That's like the two polarities.
Yeah. Yeah. It's interesting. I think as I've seen during this pandemic, like, these TV shows have had to basically stop
Mm-hmm.
and then they go, okay, well, how can we do this? Well, we can still have at least the spokesperson be in his house.
Yeah.
At least we can do the TV show still that way. And so what's interesting is it's kind of, I feel like it's like kind of, what's the word I'm thinking of? It's kind of, I don't want to say brainwashing, but it's kind of teaching people to sort of downgrade their expectation
Mm-hmm.
of a high budget thing. It's
But
kind
maybe
of
that's a
like,
good thing.
so
Maybe we can focus more on
right.
story. We'll get
Oh
back to
yeah.
something more pure, but maybe that's just idealistic and utopian. But like, yeah, if we could just get back to the story. Although I gotta say, like, I've always been not against, but I've always kind of cringed when people are saying like to do real theater, all you need is a black box and two chairs, which I don't believe because I feel like the theater experience is a visceral sensory thing. And it's like if you don't have a good set, at least some kind of set, the imagination can only take you so far. It's like you might as well be doing a radio show. So it's like I don't want to oversimplify and like all you need is a Zoom screen and you should be able to tell a great story because like I do feel like you need more than that, but it's like you don't also need the $20 billion budget. It's like where do we
Right.
find that middle ground of new stories that are getting the respect and attention they deserve and the budgets that they need? Yeah, I hope we get to that.
Well, it's been very exciting to see what's been going on with the stuff on TikTok and just how many filters there are in there and how you can just edit so much.
Mm-hmm.
It's showing how much can be done within 1 minute or even 15 seconds. And it's really expanding creativity with just being one person and having your phone and whatever filters that happen to be on there. I've been learning. I've got a really cool app on my phone now.
Mm-hmm.
It's called Video Leap, and you can edit. You can edit really, really. I'm surprisingly well within this smartphone app.
It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I've done a couple of films with my
is.
kids on, I think it's called, not Stitcher. Oh God, I can't remember what it's called. Splice. There's something called Splice that's also really user friendly. You can do very limited effects and sound but yeah, it's kind of incredible what you can do with just your phone.
It is. It is. It's incredible to see how it's evolving. Something I want to go back to, like you were saying about the black box theater and how that's such a visceral experience, and which is great because that everybody's right there. They're all there, in that space with those two people. You have no choice. You're not looking at your cell phone. You're not checking out, your other apps while that's going on. You're not running into the kitchen to do your dishes while it's on TV or to, cook up your meal and you're missing 20 seconds here, 2 minutes there.
Yeah.
You're right there in front of these people. There was one movie that I recently saw that a majority of it is actually in a car, and it's a brilliant. You were talking about Charlie Kaufman earlier. Have you seen this movie? I think it's called I'm thinking
of ending
of
things.
Ending It Tomorrow.
I'm thinking of
ending things.
I was so torn on that movie, man. Like I just saw it a couple days ago, And I think
Oof.
I wish that I would have watched it while I was still awake, because I was kind of like, it was at the very end of the night. And I was very, very tired. And I ended up
Right.
feeling like very chafed because there was so much going on and it was so random.
Mm-hmm.
And it's one of those things that's like, I'm obviously not going to reveal the big twist, but there is a pretty big reveal about the story and who the actual perspective is of the story. And I think I want to watch it again because I
Yeah, I
really
think I might
was
have to.
put off by it when I saw it, but I think I just wasn't in a good headspace for it. And now that I know
Oof.
the quote unquote twist, even though it's not really a twist, the reveal, I guess, the truth, I think I would appreciate it more on a second viewing because I love Charlie Kaufman, and there was some very
Dude.
Kaufman-esque moments that I appreciated, but it just felt
Oh.
like it was too obtuse, too obscure, almost like willfully saying you're not supposed to understand this, which I didn't really enjoy at the moment. But I think I'll appreciate it more on a second viewing.
Dude, I gotta say, talk about meta. He is just the king of
Mm-hmm.
fractals with the movies he's been putting
Yep.
on. It's like each thing is commenting about itself, and there's so many little metaphors and so many little. Oh my God!
Mm-hmm.
It's every single thing becomes the theme.
Yeah.
It's so crazy. That movie, I cannot tell you how many times I was cringing at that
Mm-hmm.
dialogue between the two of them and the uncomfortabilities. You're going, oh my God, this is just so typical and so like, oh my God, I've seen this happen.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, it's that thing where it's like, you just had to be there type of thing. You can't even explain the type of, uh, it's like those moments in time where you can't
Mm-hmm.
explain uh, 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 a certain vibe or a certain mood or a type of feeling. Like you just have to experience it. And these people, these actors do so
Yeah.
well with what they're saying and how they're doing it. And
Well, I think it was
oh
his,
my
it was
God,
definitely his most Lynchian film by far. It like
yeah,
really, really felt
yeah,
like a David Lynch homage, for better or for
oh
worse.
yeah,
But like, yeah, the thing about Lynch is that you seriously feel like you've slipped into a dreamscape, and it's nightmare
oh,
logic, it's dream logic, and that was very, very much in play with with the Kaufman film, which I
oh my
normally really
God.
like, but again, like I need to give it another shot because I was just so chafed when I first saw it. But I know I will appreciate it more next time.
Well, and I think that was the thing too. It's like I oh, and at times it felt like it was a horror
Oh yeah,
movie.
for
Like
sure.
it felt like it was a horror film. Like you're just like you're just I just felt like I was on the edge the whole time. I'm like,
Yeah,
oh God,
but
and then
he
I
messed with this though, and I kind of loved it. It's like, there's the
oh
claw
yeah,
marks on the basement door, which is like such a
oh
cliche,
yeah,
but then the
oh
actual
yeah,
contents of the basement are someone's failed dreams instead of a monster. But
yeah,
that's like monstrous to this character,
totally,
which I love.
totally,
Yeah, yeah.
totally. Oh my
Dark
God,
humor,
dude,
man.
there's yeah. I mean, it's amazing because you're right that failure aspect can
That's the
become its
horror.
own demon,
Exactly.
can
The
become its
failed
own
life
monster.
was the horror of the film.
Oh, oh, geez, man, it's so interesting because I know what you mean because I was trying to be a detective throughout
No,
that show, that
you
movie,
can to a
and
certain extent, but then at some point you're like,
right,
I give up.
right, you're so right. It's kind of like David
Yeah,
Lynch
no,
too, just
totally.
like when you're
Don't try to
watching.
figure it out.
Uh, yeah, it's just like okay, take it in. What's the vibe? What's the mood that's going
Hmm.
on? And then maybe give yourself that luxury the second viewing to then be the
Yep.
detective. Now that you've let the whole
Wash
thing
over you.
wash
Yep.
over you as a mood, it's like I need to do that now with this Charlie Kaufman movie because I'm like I want to. God, there were just so many times where I'm like, what's going on here? And I still have not figured out what the heck
Ooh,
was from what perspective.
if you
And
actually
you
do,
know,
if you want to spoil it for yourself, do a little bit of research on the novel that it was based on, and it
oh,
totally clarifies what's actually happening. Kaufman took it in a
oh,
very different angle at the end than the author did. Like the original book,
oh,
it's like very ham-fisted, the reveal. So basically, Kaufman did a very subtle way of implying the reveal, and if you watch it again, you're like, oh yeah, that's the reveal. But I'd be curious to hear your perspective on
oh my
on the
gosh.
actual perspective of the film.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's so crazy because like especially the part where they go up to the tasty freeze kind of play
Yeah,
to
yeah. In the middle of a
got the
snowstorm to get some ices,
yes, yeah, to get a cold
gray
dessert
slush,
in the middle
and it
of
just looks so
yeah.
disgusting too. It's like
Oh,
petrified vomit or something.
oh my God, totally. And then the poor girl who's got all the weird rashes on her and
Yeah,
everything, and you're like, dude, this is a total Lynchian moment.
yeah,
And you're wondering what really is going on here. You know, what
yeah.
is really going on?
Hmm.
Because then you go to the what is it, the high
Mhm.
school, and then you see the container filled with all the
Yep.
same slushy drink that he was just drinking. You're like, okay, this is evidently a routine that this guy goes through,
Uh-huh.
and you're just like, what the heck is the janitor himself thinking back up on his life of regrets?
Mhm.
Is the janitor just this sort of token, symbolic representation of something? Is the, oh my God, so many
Yeah.
interesting
Well, I also
things
like
that are just
taking the meta textual level outside of the film itself and like looking at the casting. Like he cast two actors named Jesse for the two leads. The male and the female lead are both named Jesse.
oh my
So
God,
it's just like
dude, that's
how
right.
much of that is intentional, or was it another synchronicity that he was just going with? I don't know. I love like really pulling it back and seeing how many levels and layers there are.
Oh my gosh. Well, it's interesting because here you have a character who's thinking about killing himself, and then here you got this other character who's living with all these
Hmm.
regrets, and
The
then
girlfriend is
just
thinking about
constant.
ending things. So like, what is
Right,
ending things, right? Relationship, life,
right,
is it the same thing? Yeah.
right. Oh God, that's a good.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking of ending things, and you're going, what are those
Yep.
things? And then here you got the guy who's not ending things in the sense that he's carrying his past around, all of his regrets with him all the time,
Hmm.
and that awkwardness
Hmm.
of, oh my gosh, it's just
Okay, now you made me want
just
to watch it again.
oh my God, I know, I through all of its cringy moments. I mean, I I would love to know how much percentage of that movie takes place in the car, because that was
I
just
think it's
brilliant.
pretty
Like,
much it's like a pretty much act one, act two, act three. It's like act one car, act two house, act three high school. I think it's pretty evenly spread. But it's a long
oh, it is
movie.
evenly
It's a
spread.
long movie, so I think it's not going to be exactly one act, two act, three act, but it's essentially the entire first third of the film is that car.
Because that is such a brilliant way to save on a
Hmm.
budget, is to shoot stuff in a car, especially if you got a sound stage or something, and you got, um, you don't even have to have just like you said with
Hmm.
Mandalorian, you don't even have to have a snow machine.
Yeah,
You just have a projector back there shooting snow across
yeah.
it, and you can get away with so
Well, that's
much.
the Blumhouse. I don't know if you've ever like heard about the Blumhouse deal. It's basically like if you want Blumhouse to produce your film, they're very, very specific, very strict rules. It's like basically has to be like I think it's like under $5 million, and then like basically one location and like five main actors. And I mean, there's a couple other rules, but they're very specific. It's like just tight and slim and focused. Like even like Get Out, they fit all those rules. There's only really five characters and then some side characters, one location, and it was a minimum budget. And it's like you can get something brilliant because of those restrictions. So I
Oh
kind
my
of like the
gosh,
idea of
yeah.
like you have to funnel your vision into something small and specific to really get something brilliant out of it.
It's fun because it really definitely grows that creativity
Hmm.
when you have a lack of funding, or certain things that go, okay, you can only shoot in this corner of the house. You're going, oh, okay, what could happen here in this corner of
Yeah,
the house?
exactly. Then you have a
You're
then you have
fucking
a
doing
short
this.
film called Corner of the House,
That's
which goes on
right.
YouTube and
That's
then disappears.
oh my
Yeah.
it's just it's so cool because when you do end up getting a budget, from being someone who's used to working with no budgets and having to expand your mind with going, well, we don't have that, but we do have construction paper, so let's
Hmm.
cut this out of here and do that. And so then when it does come time for a budget, holy cow, I can imagine just how much farther you can stretch a
Yeah,
dollar.
well,
I
maybe
mean,
someday I'll get a budget and I'll tell you how that how that works out for
well,
me.
so for instance, with this horror film that you got,
Yeah.
what I mean, would that fit within the Blumhouse
I mean, it
sort
would.
of
It's probably
blueprint?
a little too ambitious as far as locations. I mean, it could be done in maybe a couple locations, but as of right now, it's basically it takes place in a small mining town, and I'd hate to take the fun out of the town and turn it into like
Oh
the church
yeah,
of the town, which I'd probably have to do.
right.
So yeah, I'd have to do some major refinements to make it fit that mold. So yeah, it's probably a little too ambitious for that, but man, if I could do that, I would.
Wow, man. Wow, man. That would just be, man, getting to that point where you're going, okay, I'm going to Frankenstein my cast and crew together. This person, that person, this person,
Hmm.
that. Here's this cinematographer. Here's that actor. Here's this soundtrack guy. Here's that location.
Yeah.
Um, that would just be, I mean, gosh, man, that would just be
Here, yeah. Here's
astounding.
hoping someday.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. So, what are some of your favorite genres in addition to horror?
Sci-fi, like I said, my main thing is like sci-fi and thrillers and action. I mean, just basically anything that's like visceral and cinematic, I'm really into. Um, yeah, I mean, like when I say I'm a movie guy, it means like that theater experience of a full crowd and good projection and good sound. Although obviously we haven't been able to do that in months, but like I love the cinematic experience of going to movies and experiencing those kind of stories.
Wow, man. I mean, it's strange. Things are slowly opening up in their own special
Hmm.
way for people to see movies together
Hmm.
in theaters again. And
Yeah, I read an article about a couple who spent $150 to rent a theater to watch Tenet in IMAX, which is
oh my
like
God.
nuts. And they said it was totally worth it, but also really awkward and like they were questioning the entire time what the hell they were doing. But it's like they said it was the only way they felt safe to see the movie they really wanted to
Oh my
see. So they
God.
kicked down $150. Yeah, the deal was you could have up to like 20 or 30 people for $150, but they didn't really want anyone else to be there. So like, let's just make it a really expensive date night, and they did it.
Oh my
Yeah,
gosh.
yeah.
Incredible. Wow. Now, with Christor
Mhm.
here, um, so I mean, I can only assume you guys probably have a lot more planned that you're going to be unfolding for
Yeah,
this.
yeah, we do. We're actually we're working on a new film that's going to tie into the Christor slash Nonchalance universe.
Oh, great.
That it's a documentary about Dom Tulipso. I don't know if you're familiar with this guy. He was on Fox News and he trolled Tucker Carlson a couple of years ago. Have you heard of this guy?
No, I don't know. I don't know who
Okay,
that is.
so I'll give you a link later on, but you need to watch the video. His name is Dom Tulipso on Tucker Carlson. And I think when you watch it, things will start to connect a little more for you. But it is connected to the Nonchalance Christor universe.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great. Let's see.
So yeah, DOM, and then Tulipso is T. Yeah.
Oh, dude,
You
there he
recognize that
is.
guy?
Oh my God, there's our buddy. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Oh my God, that's
So yeah,
great. Oh my
watch the
God.
interview. It's like a brilliant 7 minutes. I think it's 7 minutes of Fox News shenanigans that you will never forget. And we're turning it
Dude,
into a
I
movie.
love this. Oh, I'm so happy that that is so great. Dom Calypso. Oh my God, this is great.
Yeah.
I'll definitely watch this later. I think this is so cool that he was able to get onto that show. And
Yeah.
oh my God, I've been a huge Andy
I
Kaufman
think I'm gonna say I've been
fan,
a huge
and
Tucker Carlson fan. I was like,
I'm a
no.
I'm a humongous Tucker Carlson fan. So I'm glad that Dom got on the
Finally.
show. I'm a huge Andy Kaufman fan, so this is totally something that I think Kaufman would be proud
Yeah,
of.
and part of the documentary is going to be a focus on media hoaxes of the past and what that
Awesome.
does for society to alleviate stress and to bring a little absurdism into our painful
Oh my
existence.
gosh.
Um,
It's so much. Oh my gosh. Have you heard of Alan Abel?
yeah,
Have
yeah,
you heard
he's
of
gonna
him?
get a little cameo, not the real guy, but yeah, he's gonna get some screen time in our documentary
Good.
too.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
good. Alan Abel. Oh my God, that's so
yeah.
good. Alan Abel was just such. Oh my God, I had the pleasure of interviewing him, and he just told me so many of these crazy
Hmm.
hoaxes that he did that were just so cool. And if you get a chance, you probably already saw it, but I think it's called Abel Races Cain. It's a whole
Hmm.
documentary about his crazy hoaxes. His daughter put it together
I
before he
have not
passed
seen
away,
that
and
yet, but I definitely will check it
oh,
out.
oh, it's so much fun. And he was, he was one of the original guys doing fake
Hmm.
news stuff out there just to show people, like, look, you guys, you can't always trust your news sources. You don't know what their motivations are or who's paying them,
Yeah.
or you
Exactly.
never
Well,
know.
yeah, the tagline for our film right now it's called "Demand Protest," and the tagline at the top says it's all a hoax. And when we mean it's all a hoax, we mean it's literally all a hoax. So basically, when someone goes on Tucker Carlson as a hoax, he's just pulling a hoax on a hoax. So we're going to really
I
explore. And again, it
love
comes
it.
back to the meta commentary on like what is a hoax, what are the definitions of a hoax, and if a corporate broadcast fits all the definitions of a hoax, then why is it not a hoax? You know. Um,
Wow, that's absolutely wow. That is so true.
so yeah, I think you'll appreciate it. It's going to be fun.
Wow, man, this is great.
Thanks.
I'm so glad that you guys are partners in crime and the surrealists that you are. I'm
Thanks,
glad
man.
that you're you're inviting the rest of the world into your universe that you're cobbling together
I
here.
appreciate it, man. I hope it keeps going on for a while longer.
Oh my gosh, dude! I definitely, I think it will. I mean, there's more and more people I'm noticing in the media. There's a lot more media that I've noticed unfolding through the years that is getting a lot more loose with its surreality and absurdity in things, and it's becoming much more of a commonplace kind of thing now. I think thanks to Tim and Eric and a lot of Adult Swim type humor, it's enabled a lot more acceptance of that kind of thing, where you're watching a movie and suddenly there's a character in there who's a 2D cartoon and nobody says anything about it, and that's just how it is, and that's, there you go, and off it goes. And then the next scene, the best friend is a puppet. Oh, okay, yeah, sure, yeah, have some coffee. And it's just, that's just how it is. And so it's cool because we're seeing a lot more of this acceptance of such committed absurdity, and especially with the fact that Dispatches from Elsewhere made such a big splash and made people take notice of that, which ideally people are starting to look, that's inspiring a lot of people to dive back into the Institute, diving into In Bright Axiom, of course, Christor now. And that was kind of a beacon, I think.
I'm still shocked that show even got made. It's just so out there, and it's totally in my wheelhouse, but I would never think that, a network like AMC would pick it up, and they did, which is amazing.
Oh man, because it's so cosmic minded. There's just a high vibration to it,
for sure.
And that's what you guys are doing, which I just think is just so great, because you're blurring the lines between, it's like with improv, when you break through and make the audience part of the stage. Now it's like, whoa, where's the stage end? Where does the audience begin? The audience is now on the stage. The stage is now in the audience. Now it's like, I'm unexpectedly participating in this reality here. How is this happening?
That's kind of the definition of Christor too. It's like the Discord community is creating, whether they realize it or not, they've been creating the story and the narrative of Christor for 4 months, just by giving their own theories and questions and ideas. We've just been metastasizing all of that and turning it into the narrative for the characters. And it's really fun. It's just like this total symbiotic relationship of the storytellers and the audience kind of interweaving, which is really fun.
Wow, what a great way of going about doing it. I remember when Lost was on and how many people had all their theories about it, and I can only imagine those writers looking in on the forums and blogs and whatnot, going, "Oh wow, okay, they're expecting us to do this. Okay, let's zag instead of zig, or let's zig and zag. Let's bring some of that theory in there." And it's such an interesting thing, and those who are coming up with these ideas and backstories and all that stuff, they must get such a kick out of seeing how that comes to fruition. As it all unfolds.
It's fun to watch them react on Discord in real time too.
Oh my gosh, I've just joined the Mesmer and Braid ARG that's going on, and it's my first time actually signing up with Discord. I got to get a hold of I got to get into the Christor Discord.
It's Nonchalance. I can send you a link, but the name of the Discord itself is Nonchalance.
Oh good. Oh good.
Yeah, check it out.
Oh my god. That is so kick-ass. So are there any other projects, any other things that you'd like to promote here? I figure we should probably wrap this up here pretty soon.
Well, The Tolls is going to premiere on Dust. I don't know if you're familiar with Dust. It's an online sci-fi platform. Hopefully by the end of the month, we'll see it on Dust. So if you want to subscribe to Dust, you're going to see The Tolls there. And you can also see it on Facebook. And then Demand Protest, we're just working our butts off on that one right now.
Oh my gosh, that's so exciting.
Thanks.
Well, I definitely would love to interview you guys again once that all comes about.
Yeah, I'd love to, man.
Get promote that out there in the world. Now, if there's any way that you want, what sort of websites or Instagrams or any way that you want people to check out what you have going on, or a way of contacting you?
Okay, well, the good way to introduce yourself to Christor is actually either through ChristoreInc.com, which is CRYSTORE Inc.com, so ChristoreInc.com. Or if you really want to get the whole ARG meta element going, if you go to thetollsfilm.com, The Tolls actually has a couple rabbit holes in their website that goes to Christor. So basically, you'll learn about my character's connection to to the Jejun Institute and to Octavio Coleman through the Tolls website. So the tollsfilm.com is also another gateway into the whole metaverse of nonchalance.
Boy, oh boy. Wow, man. Wow, man. I think these stories are exactly what are needed right
Thanks,
now
man.
to give people an alley-oop out of the slumps and look towards the magic that's going on.
Yeah,
out
I
there in the
really
world.
appreciate that. And yeah, again, it just comes back to play. Like, what are we going to do to get people in touch with their sense of play? Then we're doing our job right now,
Gosh, man. Wonderful sentiments.
Thanks.
Man, Riley, it was so kick-ass to
Yeah,
talk
you
to you, man.
too.
Thank you so much for all the inspiration. And I'm going to divide this up into a couple of segments so we can parse out all the extraordinary information
Yeah, for sure.
that you've so graciously provided here.
Thank you, man. Yeah, and just I'll keep you updated and I'll send you some links and let's just keep in touch.
Awesome. All right, man.
All right,
Take care.
cool.
Have a good
Talk to you
night.
soon. Bye.
All right.
Man behind the machine. Thank you so much for that. Really cool. Oh, by the way, thank you so much, by the way, Wiley Herman, for taking time out to give me that interview about your passion projects. Man behind the machine, it's interesting to call back to your question about how has COVID changed the music industry. I was just having this conversation with the guys. In fact, you might have heard me talk about this now that I'm thinking about this. It's so funny because you leave me so many of these great messages, and so each episode I try to put at least one of your messages in there so people become acquainted with your podcast as well. But you asked about how COVID has affected the music. One of the first things I noticed during COVID, the very first thing I was so excited was Phantom Planet came out with a song right away called Quarantine. I thought that was kick-ass. And then Sammy Hagar and the gang, they did remote broadcasting, they recorded a song remotely as well. Then it just kept kind of going along like that. Now, I thought, this is quite interesting. There are how many bands out there in the world that are not performing right now? Now, there are how many venues out there in the world that are not allowing bands to perform there. So that means very few bands are performing. That means very few venues are open. And I am very fortunate to know that I'm a part of Yachtly Crew and we are playing at places and getting out there in the world. And I think maybe what this quarantine is doing is it's showing us like what's really important to us. What are really, let's cut out the frivolousness and the things that are not serving us. Let's cut out the things that are just not serving us. The things that, right now we want to feel good. And this is my theory anyway as to why Yachtly Crew is playing, is because we're playing love songs, we're playing positivity, we're trying to bring people together. It's making people think about happier times. Wholesome times. Thank you also, by the way, ambassador from the Texas division of the Varelse Bridge Society. Thank you so much for that very important message. I'm glad that, I know basically that's a beacon. Someone out there in the world is going to hear that and they're going to say, okay, you know what? I got the code. I've no doubt that is layered with textures. And succulent zestiness of codes and classified documentations. If you sped that up, I would not be surprised if it went beep, 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 and it made some sort of Morse code. So thank you, sir, for calling. I appreciate that. Thank you, Henry D. Horace, another extraordinary fun fact. And we're going to close out tonight's show with Pauly Shores, ladies and gentlemen. My brother in Yachtly Crew, Pauly Shores. Take it away, boy. Take it away. Take it away, ships ahoy.
listening to the most creative mind in the universe, Inspirado Projecto.